You know, it's my privilege today to be in the main hall announcing all of the speakers. We have a wonderful program today, and I'm very excited for you guys to attend each of your panels. But before we go into our panel sessions, we have some keynotes that are going to address you this morning. Our first speaker is Sandra Hutchens. She is a pretty amazing woman. I'd like to read you her bio. Sandra Hutchens was sworn in as the 12th elected Sheriff-Coroner of Orange County in December of 2010. She began her law enforcement career with the LA County Sheriff's Department in 1976. She worked her way through the ranks of deputy, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, commander, and spent 4 years as division chief for the Office of Homeland Security. This means behave today. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together, Ms. Sandra Hutchens. Absolutely.
You don't have to behave for me, really. We do have officers posted at the back doors in case you don't, though. Just kidding. It's great to see you all out here today. I think I'm so happy to be here with you, to be able to spend some time. To the students and to the parents, thank you for engaging in such a positive activity as the Elite Vision Expo today. I was watching the slides up here before we got started, and it said no to 17 and yes to Atlantic Monthly, and today you're saying yes to learning something new, which is why you will be successful in life. I want to share so much with you today, but I have a short window of time to do that. But here's what I want to talk about. First, I want to talk about my background and how I got to where I am today. And I want to tell you a little bit about what a sheriff does, because I don't think people really pay much attention unless we reach out and touch you, and that's not always a positive experience. You may not know what other things that we do. Second, I want to talk to you, about the students primarily. I know we have parents here today, and thank you for being here. I want to talk about the students because we, the managers and leaders in the workforce, we're studying you because you're the millennials, and you're new, and you're here, and you're going to stay, and we're kind of learning how to deal with you. There's 3 generations in the workforce before you. Those are the builders. I'll talk about these groups, the baby boomers, of which I am one, and Gen X. And then there are the millennials, and you have shown up, and we're going to talk a little bit about you. So we want to learn about you, what makes you tick, and we want to learn how to motivate you and to get you to stay in our companies and our businesses. Finally, I want to share some thoughts about leadership and success in the hopes that it will be of some help to you during this exciting time of your lives and into your future, wherever that may take you. So I'll start with me. What do you see when you look at me? You heard that I'm the 12th elected sheriff in Orange County. You've heard that I have a long time in law enforcement, going back to 1976. I spent 30 years with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, working through the ranks. In 1976, do you think there were a lot of women in law enforcement? Who said yes? No, there wasn't. Do you think I grew up thinking that I was going to be a deputy sheriff or a law enforcement officer? Do you think I grew up thinking that I would be standing here before you as the sheriff? No. There's 3 sheriffs, 3 female sheriffs out of 58 in the state of California, and from my perspective, that is huge progress. So let's talk about my background. Would you be surprised? You might have made some assumptions. I'm obviously successful. You might have made some assumptions about how I grew up. Would you be surprised that I moved out when I was 17 years old and put myself through school while working full-time? Would you be surprised that I came from a very poor, struggling family? I remember not being hungry, but I remember being happy that the paycheck came that week. And would you be surprised that my father was an alcoholic and didn't have much respect for law enforcement because they arrested him a few times for good reason. My point in raising these questions to you is to demonstrate that we all have challenges in our lives. We have physical challenges, we have mental challenges, we have environmental challenges, but we all have the choice to believe in ourselves and to be successful and take advantage of the opportunity that life affords us, particularly in this country, to take that opportunity and to do better in our lives. Personal circumstances can shape you. Personal circumstances can shape you, but they do not define who you are. Only you can do that yourselves. I'm a baby boomer, as I said, baby boomers born sometime between 1946 and 1964, and I'm not going to tell you where in there I was born. That's all I'm going to tell you about that. What a sheriff does. Some of you, as I said, when I became sheriff and I started traveling around the county and talking to groups about what a sheriff does, I found out very quickly that very few people know who we are and what we do. First of all, sheriff is elected. You have chiefs of police in the county. You have police departments. For example, Irvine, Fullerton have their own police department. They have a chief, and that chief is appointed by the city manager and or the city council. I'm elected countywide by all of you in the county. And the responsibility of the sheriff primarily is the jail. I run the county jail. We have about 6,600 county inmates in there today. And I'm responsible for their safety, well-being, and to make sure that they don't get out to reoffend before they're supposed to get out. Hopefully they won't reoffend. We also police 12 contract cities. We have 12 cities, mostly in the South County, and we are their police department. We provide security in the courts, so if you go in for jury duty or some other business in the courts, you're going to see deputy sheriffs who are maintaining security in those buildings. John Wayne Airport, we provide security. We have our officers out there. They're usually telling you to keep your car moving, but they provide security in and around the airport. And we police the 3 harbors, 42 miles of coastline, Newport, Huntington Beach, and Dana Point, which is also a Homeland Security function. We are involved in counterterrorism. We are involved in intelligence to combat violent extremism. And we assist other agencies in the county, and I'll give you an example. You've, I'm sure, read about the protests occurring in the city of Anaheim these past several weeks, and our folks, the Orange County Sheriff's Department, are there along with other policing agencies providing what we call mutual aid. So we are expecting some demonstrations this weekend. And here's just an interesting discussion about law enforcement and our role. Here we have people who want to demonstrate. There are people who want to demonstrate peacefully and have their voices heard. However, there are also agitators who have other agendas and commit crimes. So what the police must do, what law enforcement must do is maintain that delicate balance between allowing people to have their say peacefully, maintaining the public peace while dealing with people who are committing crimes or using this as an opportunity to commit crimes. And so that's just a little snapshot about what we do. I was appointed originally before I ran for office. If you recall, the prior sheriff was indicted and is currently in federal prison in Colorado for some misdeeds that he committed in office. So the Board of Supervisors was placed in the unenviable position of having to appoint a sheriff to an elected position because I was filling the rest of his term and then ran for election. So it was a pretty tumultuous time. There were a lot of negative articles about the Orange County Sheriff's Department, and I felt that I needed to come in and regain the public trust and confidence in their law enforcement agency because we cannot do our job without the public confidence and trust in what we do, right? It doesn't work out if you don't trust what we do, we need your cooperation to fight crime, to work with the community, and that's really what it's all about. And so I was having a particularly bad time, a lot of criticism, a lot of changes that I needed to do in the department, and I was running for election. I was quite new to being a politician, so I was learning how to run a campaign and how to run for election, and I hoped that the county would like, the voters would like what I was doing. So I got a stack of letters. I was sitting in my office one day and I got this packet of letters from Irvine Christian, or rather Capistrano Valley Christian School. And they adopt a public figure every year, every school year. And in the packet of letters was a letter from Jake, who was about 10 years old at the time. And Jake said that I was adopted shortly after I was appointed to the Office of Sheriff. And Jake sent me this letter, and I keep it with me because it shows the wisdom of youth. Because Jake said, "Dear Sheriff Hutchens, hello from Capistrano Valley Christian School. Thank you for keeping our streets safe. Police are often seen as the bad guys, but I know you're there to keep me safe and the people around me safe. And if you didn't give people speeding tickets, there would be a lot more accidents. People could even die, exclamation point. Our class has been praying for you and that you are safe and make the right decisions. You must be under a lot of pressure." You have no idea, Jake. It was a tough time. Here's the wisdom. It takes leadership to make decisions that are for the good of all people, but might make some people mad. I think people need to appreciate police more. For some reason, everybody likes firefighters and thanks them more than the police, probably because they don't give tickets. From Jake. But the most important part of that letter to me was the statement, "It takes leadership to make decisions that are for the good of all people, but make some people mad." Now, let's talk about you. As I said, we are studying you, and here is the proof. We've even written a book about you, Managing the Millennials. I had the opportunity to meet with one of the co-authors who shared with me his impetus for helping to write this book. He was a college professor, and he was baffled and frustrated by millennials who would challenge him in class on facts in his lectures. He felt that they were being rude. They just had access to the information via the internet and were much more interested in the current reality of facts. It did cause him to do some further research into this group, which totals about 32 million people. Here's a quote from a millennial. "If we don't like a job, we quit, because the worst thing that can happen is that we move back home. There's no stigma, and many of us grew up with both parents working, so our moms would love nothing more than to cook our favorite meatloaf." Is that true, moms? Probably true, probably true. From the book, Managing the Millennials, there are 4 generations at work. As I said, builders, baby boomers, Gen X, and the millennials. All of us have probably seen that horizontal chart that shows the different generations across the top. I seem to be moving to the left. Every time I look at it, I'm just glad I'm still on the chart. So how are generations defined? And I'm going to give you some age groupings, but don't get too hung up on that because it bleeds over into different generations. There's no real true stop and start point. There's some blending there. But they are defined by age, social and economic conditions, experiences during their formative years, technology, pop culture, and socio-political events. So let's discuss each group briefly. The builders, 1925 to 1945. Any builders in the audience? Nope, I don't see any hands. The Great Depression, Roosevelt's New Deal, the Korean War, World War II, the GI Bill. They valued hard work, honor, They delayed gratification. They have been called the greatest generation. They were thrifty. Mother was at home, not very culturally diverse. Patriotic. I just said goodbye to a good friend of mine who was a builder this week. He passed away. He was 97 years old. He was a World War II vet. He lived in the same house for probably 70 years. He paid $6,000 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. And he was thrifty, very thrifty and very patriotic. So that group is passing on. Famous people from this group: Dick Van Dyke, Marilyn Monroe, B.B. King, and Ellen Greenspan. Baby boomers, 1946 to 1964. I know we have baby boomers here. Hands? Okay. Vietnam War, Cold War, Civil Rights Movement, Women's Liberation Movement, television, equality for everyone, the Kennedy and King assassinations, the moon landing. Identity was derived from work. Health and wellness become important. The baby boomers used technology to do more work, not less. Material wealth is emphasized. Some famous people from this generation: Bill Clinton, Elton John, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Maria Shriver. Gen X, 1965 to 1977, show of hands. Okay, kind of a shorter time period, kind of squeezed between the millennials now and the baby boomers. Persian Gulf War, Challenger explosion, AIDS, corporate downsizing, tripling of divorce rates, latchkey kids to working parents, MTV, computers, suspicious of parents. Use technology for work-life balance, not to do more work, but work-life balance. Don't need to be in the office. Famous people: Tina Fey, Kurt Cobain, Lance Armstrong. And now, millennials, show of hands, 1978 to 1996. 9/11, terrorism, Columbine, Spice Girls, Dixie Chicks, cell phones, texting, hopefully while not driving, social networking, social responsibility, need constant feedback, raised in democratic, praise-based families, wide range of family backgrounds, focus of parenting on nurturing, work in teams in school and on academic projects. Diversity is important. Interest in developing spiritually. Most sheltered, structured, and rewarded generation. Everyone on the team gets a trophy. Fathers spend more time with their children. Famous people: Alicia Keys, Miley Cyrus, Daniel Radcliffe. And speaking of Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe was in Harry Potter. He was Harry. And this is again from the book, Managing the Millennials. Demographers reference the Harry Potter series as an excellent illustration for the differences between the millennials and their predecessors, the builders, the baby boomers, and Gen X. I read the Harry Potter series just to find out what got children reading books again, because I thought that was pretty amazing to see all the lines of kids waiting to get these books, which was wonderful. Harry Potter and his friends are smart, overachieving, innovative, and self-possessed, doing their best to operate within the rules set forth for them, while practicing their calling of saving the world as the need arises. They represent the millennials. The individualistic judgmental, egotistical teachers at Hogwarts School responsible for shaping the young wizards characterize the baby boomer generation, my generation. We were quite the revolutionaries in our day, or so we thought. Characters like Hagrid, though not in power but always around to help, epitomize Gen X, a group sandwiched between the two powerful and dominant generations, baby boomers and the millennials. So what do some employers say about the millennials? Here are some quotes. They do not care about customers. If you correct them, they quit. They think there is always an excuse that can make being late okay. They want a trophy for showing up. Yelling and screaming is the only thing they understand. They assume it is okay to call me by my first name like we're buddies. I am their boss. So let's take a look at the millennials' perceptions of themselves. We are not defined by our job. We want to have a say about when we work. We want to have a say about how we work. We do not expect you to be our best friend, but when you evaluate or critique us, we want you to do it in a friendly way, just like our parents did. We want you to give us direction and then get out of our way. So be aware of the tension that can exist in the workplace. The different generations must learn to work together, and knowing their belief systems, their experiences, what shaped them in their formative years is a tool for you, regardless of where you lie on those various generations. And so when I was asking about a show of hands, anybody not included in those? We've got a few. They're the new one. We haven't really even come up with a name for you yet because you're still developing, but that will be the next. They are coming of age. Just think about this. They are coming of age during the Barack Obama presidency, the first African-American president. Their experience to date include the mortgage crisis, corporate bailouts, unemployment, and we don't know who will be the famous members of that generation yet. But you can see how events start to shape a generation. So the good news about the millennials, you are great on teams and you do not mind sharing the rewards. You are creative, you love to problem solve, you care about social responsibility, you bring a lot of energy to the workplace, and you want to contribute even if uninvited. So now on to a discussion of leadership and success. Why leadership? Leadership is one of the most important character traits you can have. One of the challenges we face today is the need for true leaders. So what defines a true leader? An individual who is willing to do the right thing in the face of adversity. An individual who will take a stand to protect the innocent. An individual who will stand for his or her principles. An individual whose reputation precedes them. When I talk about leadership, I'm not necessarily talking about traditional leadership roles, such as the CEO of a company or the president of a university. I'm talking about leadership in our everyday lives. I'm talking about the type of leadership traits exemplified in the following quotes. Do not follow where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. Leadership is doing the right thing, especially in the face of overwhelming opposition. It is easy to do the right thing when you are in the majority, but doing the right thing when you may be the only voice while facing incredible adversity. That is true leadership. I would challenge each of you to be a leader. We need leaders in every aspect of our lives. You can demonstrate leadership every day with your family, in your community, in your school, and in your work, whatever that turns out to be. Let your voice be heard, and let it be the voice of what is right. It all comes down to this, because it's really quite simple. Just do what is right. At the end of the day, and at the end of your life, be able to look at yourself and know that you always had the courage to do the right thing. Viktor Frankl, a concentration camp survivor, wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning, which was published in 1946. In the book, he discusses how we find meaning in life by the attitude we take toward our unavoidable failures or suffering. He had this to say about success. Don't aim at success. The more you aim at it, the more and make it a target, the more you are going to miss it. For success, like happiness, cannot be pursued. It must ensue as the unintended side effect of one's personal dedication to a course greater than oneself. I am a great fan of Abraham Lincoln and his style of leadership. I would recommend the book, Lincoln on Leadership, by Donald Phillips. The book, Good to Great, by Jim Collins, also references Abraham Lincoln's leadership style, and in this book they refer to it as Level 5 leadership. Here are 3 basic principles which were practiced and espoused by Mr. Lincoln during one of this nation's most challenging of times. They are timeless principles and are sure to bring you success if you practice them. Honesty and integrity are the best policies. When you make it to the top, turn around and reach down for the person behind you. Here is an important one in the age of TMZ, gossip news, and bullying in our schools. Never add the weight of your character to a charge against a person without knowing it to be true. Have the courage to challenge unjust criticism. And let me just repeat that. I want you to think about that because I think that is certainly a failing in our society today. Never add the weight of your character to a charge against a person without knowing it to be true. Have the courage to challenge unjust criticism. Think about that the next time someone wants to share gossip or bad news with you. Think what they are probably talking about when you're not around. What I would like you to walk away with today is the knowledge that you are uniquely situated in this time and place and uniquely qualified to be successful and to be happy. The only thing left for you to do is to go forth with courage, with resolve, and an unwavering belief in yourself and what you can accomplish. I would suggest to you that every generation has its challenges. Yours are no more difficult than previous generations. They are new and unique to this generation, just like generations before. The times we live in influence who we are. It is easy when times are good, but we really show what we are made of when times are tough and when we are challenged. True leaders emerge, innovations occur, creativity grows. So in closing, to all our generations present here today, be bold, Be a full participant in your life and in your community. The world will always have enough mere spectators and critics. Believe in yourself. Be leaders. Be a critical thinker. Challenge the status quo. Challenge yourself. Define your own success, for success is different for everyone. Don't fear change. Rather, embrace new possibilities. Have a glass half full mentality and come from a place of gratitude in your heart. Embrace your loved ones, because whatever success you attain in life will not be worth it without them. And most importantly, don't forget to have fun and never, ever stop learning new things and challenging yourself. Thank you very much.